How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. So today is another great masterclass case study in what it means to be a great dancer. So today we're talking about a specific duet that happened, which I've been doing a lot of duets, which I think is a really cool way to show multiple personalities coming together. But first and foremost, my name is Joel Casanova. I'm the creator of Be a Hunter Dance, and this talk show exists to help your dance journey be healthy, productive, and 100% yours. It is possible for your dance journey to be all those things. The first step is to realize that it is possible, and the second step is to decide what that means for you and your dance journey. There are so many layers to who you are as a person. There's who you are as a person without dancing. That's like 1.5 million things right there. There's like 60 layers right there. Then you add on dancing and how you express yourself through dancing. Then there's the styles that you know. Then there's whether you decide to use those styles. Then there's what you're dancing for. And then there's like who you're dancing with, whether you're combining your ideas together. So there's like your layers times their layers combined together. And that's the kind of thing we're going to see with Sean Liu and Casey Rice, two dancers that do duets all the time and do a piece that can be left up to interpretation. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the interpretation in this video. So enjoy. Okay, so today we're talking about Sean Liu. Sean Liu is a choreographer, dancer, chef also, as well as filmmaker, and he does a lot of things. Okay, I appreciate him for that. He does a duet piece in this video with a girl named Casey Rice. They partnered together in a lot of their choreography. This is the first segment, which is just only one segment of a bunch of segments that he put together to make a feature-length film. It was like 57 minutes ish. So there's a lot of dancing, a lot of choreography with a bunch of different themes in them. This one is fear and acceptance. So talking about he kind of makes opposites in all of those two things in all the different segments, and this one is fear versus acceptance. So I'm gonna skip past the intro just to get to the choreography, but if you notice multiple times when they start off this piece, they're gonna have scars, and then certain points the scars disappear and their emotion changes. And then the scars kind of come back and their emotion changes again. So there's a lot of symbolism. I have thoughts on the theme because, of course, I have thoughts. This is my talk show. I can have thoughts. Okay. So this is how it starts. Sean's on the right. Casey's on the left.
People are not living their dreams because of fear, ladies and gentlemen. Fear, limited vision, and
this is the intro that's kind of setting up what they're about to do story-wise.
Lack of self-esteem. Fear is the most subtle and destructive of all human diseases. What's the benefit of allowing fear to hold you back? What's the benefit of giving up on yourself? Of not stepping out on life and taking life on? What is the benefit for you? What's the plus in that?
Okay, they're about to start the choreography. So with all that said, there are like two people in like this deserted place, seemingly deserted because they're about to show other people. Spoiler alert. This is where the choreography comes in. Now, before we get into this, keep in mind Sean Liu and Casey Rice are completely different people, completely different humans, right? So they're already unique in and of themselves outside of dance. Okay, this is all behind a dance philosophy. Sean and Casey also do hip hop. Okay, so in hip hop, Sean and Casey can do hip hop in the same genre, but can look completely different, right? Then you start adding, that's like already a layer, right? Themselves, and then the second layer is like themselves doing hip hop. Then it's themselves doing hip hop and contemporary ballet, jazz, technical type dances, which then is already completely like multiple layers that make them completely different. And then you take them doing those two things, which look completely different, and you combine them together, which is like so many different layers combined together when they do it. And then they have to think and plan ahead for the choreography that they're about to do, which is going to look crazy different because Sean and Casey are completely different minds that are coming together to make choreography. I'm very sure they made this choreography together. It could have just been Sean. I'm not sure. But then you have using that choreography, which is like the 16th layer at this point, to tell a story about fear and acceptance. And then you have the emotions, and then you have just their bodies and all the different options that they have combined with the music and how they're going to interpret the music to interpret the story. And then there's like, I'm doing something that triggers you into doing something, which triggers me into doing something, right? It's all the different layers that are happening together. The amount of planning it takes just to make choreography for yourself is insane. Now, when you come together, it transcends being insane and becomes beautiful and complex, right? It's a challenge. Don't get me wrong. Choreography is always a challenge. Yeah, choreography is always a challenge. It just depends on how hard it feels for you to create it. That's besides the point. So keep that in mind as you're watching this piece. All the different small pieces that are working together.
Keep your secrets from me, boy. Run it. Keep a little lie. Could it be any harder? No.
Imagine hands as well as moving around. Extension. He goes under.
Can't keep yourself satisfied.
Okay, so stop right there. Okay, so the extension into the tick, like there's so many different ways I have thought about using ballet, jazz, contemporary technique with hip hop style thoughts and like not experience. What is that? Expression, right? So she had the extension and it went click, click. And then she turned around and like she jumped into him. It was crazy. And then even this, they floated up and then hit, turn around, right? So there's all these different things that you can see other styles bleed into it, but it's for the purpose of the choreography and it's for the purpose of the story.
Young sir, come forward. Come forward. What are you afraid of?
Show me the way you move. Won't you show me the way you move? Boy, we look and we find it. Boy, we look and we find it.
Right? So now there's people behind me. My guess is that the whole theme is that they could either stay in fear and they feel the scars of like rejection, or they can be brave enough to go out and gain acceptance even though they're scared to feel rejection again. Or it could be we can leave these people and just decide to be accepted in ourselves versus go out there and be like nameless and live in fear. I don't know. It's one or the other, and they're very opposites. But right now, if you notice, they're about to show that they are, with other people behind them, they're hiding. It's all just acting. And their scars are gone. Start noticing.
What are you afraid of?
Emotions start changing. Now they're kind of happy. So I'm like, is it that they are... Yeah, they're kind of like more optimistic. dark.
What are you afraid of?
Okay, so if you notice in film, there's something called a wipe, where something crosses the frame, right? Crosses the screen, and when it does, it changes to a completely different scene. So they're here without their scars. And then it swipes across. Now they're back with their scars, and she has a different facial expression. So, tell me your thoughts in the comments. What do you think this is about?
Show me the way you're moving.
If you notice, all the people behind them are gone now, and then they come back later on.
Show me the way you're moving. Won't you show me the way you're moving? Boy, we are going fast.
So, I'm gonna go back to that piece because I love that piece. There are so many, when you're doing different techniques and you're switching between them, just making a hard line, there's a lot of mental work that goes into it to combine them and use pointed foot and flex foot and extensions and then jumps and then hits and then waves. Like, there's so many intricacies that are happening right now that take such a pivot. So I can imagine how long they practice this. But the idea is, like, they're like, we have all these styles, and instead of saying we're to do Fear and Acceptance, to do this piece, we're gonna do, ballet specifically, to say pop music, to this abstract kind of hip hop-esque music, like lo-fi, but we're gonna do ballet to it, or we're gonna do hip hop to like a classical piece or an instrumental piece that sounds like hip hop wouldn't be done to it, and to show the contrast between Fear and Acceptance. Instead, they're like, we're gonna take our entire repertoire of styles that we know, and we're gonna make a piece out of it. And there's so much mental work, if not as well as physical work, that's happening as they're making this piece.
Boy, we are going fast. Boy, we are going fast.
This is where the ending of the story comes in. There's people behind them, they're by themselves. He's like, let's go this way, and she goes, no, let's go that way.
I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be perfect the first time I did something. It's not going to happen. You're going to make some mistakes. You got to ask yourself, how long am I going to allow?
Now the interpretation is up to us. Is he telling her, don't do that, it's not worth it, and she's making the wrong decision? Or he's saying, no, we don't have to face this, let's run away, and she's saying, no, I can face this.
This to hold me back.
She gets accepted here, keeps walking, and I'm thinking it's the fact that he's too afraid to try to get accepted because he's super afraid here at the end. He's all fidgety and he's like timid, right? Okay, so that's basically the end of the piece. Here's the thing. Dance-wise, he could have done so many things, but choreography is a planned expression of creativity. So he wanted to show this piece. He wanted to give a certain emotion to it. He wanted to leave it open and leave it up to interpretation. He said in an interview that all of these different segments that are part of this feature-length film are experiences that he's had in his own life. So they're all pulled from very personal experiences. And so when it comes to that aspect, he wanted to express a part of his own history, and he did it all through dance. And not just one style of dance, multiple styles of dance that were combined together. And then he specifically did it with Casey, and they did a duet together. These are all choices. The muscle of choice when it comes to dancing is one of the most important muscles that you could possibly develop. And it can start in layers, right? I do with my students, I do it where I have like, okay, you can take one move and then you can do it in multiple different directions. And I tell them which directions to go in. And then I say, okay, you have now done this in multiple different directions. Now you choose which directions you're going to do. We're going to do every 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And every count, 1 and 5, or 4 and 8, sometimes, is them doing the move and them deciding which direction they're going in. That's one layer. And then you take all the layers until eventually you're making a full piece, deciding out of nothingness, out of freestyling in your own personal style, and saying, okay, I know all these different things. I'm going to make something myself. And so if you're in stillness, I don't think people realize, even choreographers sometimes don't appreciate, the amazing creativity and skill it takes to, out of stillness, decide I'm going to move elbow, hand, elbow, head, chest, shoulder, shoulder, and then to specific beats in music, and then using all those movements not just to be beautiful creative movement, but also beautiful creative movement that tells a story and is done specifically for a purpose. Like all the choices that he made, there's probably millions of different options that how this piece could have looked completely different. So one of the great things when you see good choreography that you like, watch it again to understand what's happening, watch it a third time to really analyze what's going on. Now I'm going to add a fourth one. Watch it a fourth time and think about all the decisions that had to be made. So if you ever try to make your own choreography, or if you see choreography that someone else is making, or you take a class and you like the choreography that they made, think about all the decisions that had to be made in that. Which is why my personal pet peeve is when choreographers escape the decisions they have to make. Okay, and what I mean by that is there's two sides of a coin. On one side of the coin, there is, hey, this is what I want you to do. This is how it's supposed to be done, but make it your own. And when they say make it your own, they mean take your own personal choices and put it into your body and make sure that you're expressing it the way that you would. And then some people take it too far. That's the other side of the coin, where they're like, for this part, I just want you to express, passion. And you're like, what does that mean? All of this is supposed to be passionate, isn't it? So tell me what to do. You're the choreographer, right? Or even further than that. Like, that's not even on the two sides of the coin, where there'll be choreographers. This happens especially a lot in universities, where they'll say, just express yourself to music, and then they'll take specific pieces from what the people did, and they'll take certain movements, and then they'll string them together and say, this is my choreography. No, it's not. You took what someone else did freestyle-wise or improvisationally, and then you took that from this person, took that from this person, put it in an order and said, this is my choreography. They were freestyling. You didn't make anything up, right? You could say you collaborated with them, but they never get the credit. It's always you that get the credit for choreographing this piece. So there's a certain moment where you escape that decision, and it's hard. I understand why you would not want to make the decisions, but making decisions makes it a beautiful piece of movement. That's the whole purpose. And by doing that, you are expressing yourself and willing to take the risk, like they did in this video, willing to take the risk of people liking it or not liking it, right? So like when you're singing, when you're dancing, when you're moving, when you're acting, when you're painting, when you're typing, it's like all these expressions of yourself are really, really hard, because it's just like, this is just me. And I'm not even sure if this is good, because it's so me that I don't know how to judge it. I have to have someone else judge it. But what if they judge and they say that it's awful, right? So that's why the fear and acceptance, which is what this piece is about, is so important. That it's like, I'm sure it's from a different perspective, but as dancers, I'm sure they understand how dancers can accept this. Because it's like, I'm putting myself out there. Am I willing to take the risk and face the fear of being accepted or potentially not being accepted? Or should I just run away and not get accepted because I ran away, but never know what could have happened, but also not get the risk, you know? So there's a lot that goes into it. If you have 2-3 moves that you can string together from your own self, you can make a whole piece of choreography, and you can practice the muscle of choice. So I would suggest doing that without music, right? Just take shoulder, shoulder, head, foot, right? And you start putting those in different orders without music at all, and then connect it to music, and then change it when you are trying to move across the floor with those specific movements. Like, all these are ways that you can decide, build your muscle of choice and make those decisions based off of the music that you're hearing. That's gonna be a really, really great exercise for you to do as you're growing as a dancer. So hope that helped. Love this guy. Back to you, other Joel Casanova. Yeah, so this is Sean and Casey's Instagram. You should definitely check them out. They do pieces individually, which are incredible, and they do pieces together, which are also incredible. So regardless of how you watch them, your mind will be blown, I promise. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that this is the purpose of Movement of the Great, this whole series, is the fact that you can gain inspiration from someone and gain knowledge and vocabulary for why you like what it is that they're doing, which is very different from imitating someone and someone's style and someone's persona, right? So this is not intended for you to be like, hey, you can be a great dancer if you move like this person, right? You're supposed to be moving like yourself. But to gain vocabulary and get, like, instead of 1 or 2 teachers, you have like 60 teachers, both in person, online, and through video, right? So it's like that like in a multitude of counselors, there's wisdom, right? So like you can gain a lot of knowledge as a dancer and grow and have, it's almost like people say this about books, right? You can have professors and teachers through books because they've written it, and you, like, I can't talk to C.S. Lewis or J.R.R. Tolkien, but I can read their books and learn from them. So he becomes my teacher at that point. Same thing with dance. Once it's on video, once you see the things that they've done, then you can be like, oh, I can learn from that. And all of a sudden, you've learned from Sean Liu. He's just become your teacher right then and there. But not if you imitate him. Then you're just eliminating yourself and becoming Sean Liu. You need to gain the knowledge from Sean Liu in order to apply the skill that he has to your own personal movement. And that applies to not just Sean Liu, but Casey Rice, Philip Jabib, Yaya Vakova, Joel Casanova, John Smith, Jane Doe, right? It's like, whoever it is, like, you are looking at them to learn something for yourself. And that's not selfish. That's just being humble enough to realize that other people have things that you can't bring to the table, but will eventually grow into. So, can't bring to the table now, but we'll be able to bring to the table once you've learned it, I guess. So, that comes from people who are above you and people who are beside you and people who are below you, right? Every dancer can learn something from another dancer. Promise, right? So that's a great exercise that I gave you in this pre-recorded video. Do that. The muscle of choice is peak when it comes to dancing. Like, that is the best way for you to do it, because even just dancing takes a choice. Am I going to move to this music? Yes or no? That's like the most binary version of that muscle right there. It's like, yes, I'm going to dance. No, I'm not going to dance. And just taking the risk of dancing makes you braver than, like, everyone in the world. Okay. So, this is my information, BeatHunterDance.com and at BeatHunterDance. In the show notes or in the description, you can find where you can find other episodes. Well, you can find the full video. I linked the whole feature-length film that he created. You can watch the whole thing or just watch that segment. Really, it's up to you without commentary. You can find other articles and other episodes from the Behind a Dance talk show on Substack and YouTube and all the other places, Spotify, Apple Music, and things. You can also get the POV curriculum, which is the first book that is officially out. I'm releasing it chapter by chapter. It is the best way to get to the heart of everything that I talk about on the talk show, right? This is 6 chapters of how I can decide what my mindset is on dance so I can make my dance journey healthy, productive, and 100% mine. Yours, right? So, you are the most important part of the dance journey because you are driving the car. And what your mindset is will depend on where you drive the car and the decisions that you make. So I would suggest doing that because we need you to be yourself. That's the whole point. Okay, here's some information on my classes and have a great day.